A lot of talk about this game being big, and you've always been big, and rightfully so, about the next game is the next game. How do you check those emotions for a room full of 19 and 20-year-olds?
Well, I think the emotions can be good as long as you're not emotional. And when you play in big games, when you come to the University of Georgia, you sign up for that. And this is certainly one of those. But there'll be a lot of big games this year the way our schedule sets up.
Yeah, there's no question about it. All right, so if I talk to you Saturday night, perfect case scenario, what will you have done right, Georgia has done right to win that football game?
Outstrain, out effort, win the line of scrimmages, and don't turn the ball over. I mean, those are all things that you could say every game, and that's not going to be any different in this game.
We've all asked questions, and we're going to keep asking questions about going to Tuscaloosa, and Nick Saban is not the head coach there. How different of an experience, or will it be a different experience for you?
I don't think so. I mean, apparently he'll still be there from what I hear with game day and everything. But I don't think that changes anything. They got a really good football team. They're very well coached. They're very sound in all their schemes. That hasn't changed. And good football players are going to determine this outcome, not coaches.
Coach, first, I watched you address your team during practice downstairs. What is your message to them this week as you prepare to take on the Dogs?
Yeah, to me, it's all about us. It always needs to be that way, and focusing on what we do best, who we are, and just the work that goes into it. And I love the way our guys kind of carry the mantras, they carry the messaging. I think they believe in it, and so again, we're attacking every day, making the most of every opportunity, each and every practice, each and every rep, but most importantly, we just got to be us.
Remove the fundamentals, because I know that's where your brain's going to go when I ask this question. What are some aspects of this game that you feel like could be determining factors that you see that maybe we don't?
Well, I think you probably see it, so you added a little bit to the end of the question, but I think the turnovers and just how well they've taken care of the football and knowing how big of a deal that is in field position each and every game, but especially a game like this. And then I just think that the offense is getting into a rhythm, and the defense is doing a good job of trying to keep them out of it. You got some strong defenses here. We know that they haven't allowed a touchdown, through their season here, and that's impressive. You're gonna have to put plays on top of each other, but a lot of it to me just starts out with taking care of the football.
Hey, we are back, and Marty and McGee are locked down in Tuscaloosa and in Athens, and we say hello to both of them now before the big game in T-Town. And Marty and McGee, let me start in Tuscaloosa. We just heard from Kalen DeBoer. Marty, I know you've spent a lot of time with him and others there today. What is your impression?
A lot of things, Paul. First of all, thanks for having us, brother. We appreciate the time. He said to me, he said, look, first of all, this is our first SEC game. So obviously that's extremely important to begin conference play on a very positive note. They also want to protect Bryant-Denny Stadium. They are fantastic here at home, and they want to make sure that they maintain that. And then on top of that, he said, look, we know that we have a football team that's capable. We have to make sure that we do what we practiced and that we make sure that this is the type of game that sets the direction for the rest of the season. And so they have the right mindset. I was in their practice today. It was extremely spirited. I feel like there's this misconception that because Coach DeBoer's natural disposition is one that is more calm than Coach Saban hollering and screaming and throwing things, that his practices are tiddlywinks and touch football. Trust me, that is not the case at all. Jalen Milroe looked fantastic today in practice. He has great command of the offense here at Alabama, and I will tell you, the deep ball looked really good today while I was watching him in practice. He understands it's about making sure to be a great leader. And then I spoke to the running backs, Justice Haynes and Jam Miller, and Jam Miller told me, of course this is the biggest game of the season. There's no debate about it. And Haynes said, look, they have a great program. We have a great program. We seem to always be playing for conference championships against them. He said, this is how we operate. Respect all, fear none. So that's what they're looking at going into this game, Paul.
And Ryan, in talking to Kirby Smart, maybe I misunderstood. Were you giving him were you pulling his wisdom teeth out? He looked a little bit uncomfortable answering that question about going back to Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, it's I'm so excited for Marty to get to go to practice. That was not my situation here today. But that being said, and I said this to Marty earlier today when we were working on the show, which is the Georgia coaches here in the building wish they had that access to practice because you heard it in Kirby Smart's answer. They're very well coached and they have great players and all those things. What they really don't know is this Kalen DeBoer coaching staff. And they certainly know Jalen Milroe, and they certainly know a lot of players on that roster. They tried to recruit all of them, just like Alabama tried to recruit most of the players on the roster here in Georgia. They know the program. They know all those things. So how do you prepare for a coaching staff that you don't know very well? The good news is, Kirby Smart said it, you got 3 games of film you can watch from this year. But it's also going back and watching 2 years of film from Washington and perhaps even going back and watching a little film from Fresno State. Now, I don't know if they're going back and watching NAIA film from Kalen DeBoer from 10 years ago, but that's what you're doing is trying to find tendencies, and that's how deep they're willing to look because, again, they know Jalen Milroe. They certainly know that crimson uniform, but they don't really know that coaching staff that well yet.
And Marty, in Tuscaloosa, you've been with Alabama for so many epic games, from SEC to national championship to games like this. I guess the answer is going to be what you said a minute ago, but is it any different under Kalen DeBoer than Nick Saban?
It definitely feels different in the building. I don't know if you've been down here yet since Coach Saban left and Coach DeBoer came in, Paul, but the energy is different, and it's an energy that has really empowered players to really display their personalities. Jalen Milroe told me that a couple weeks back when I sat him down here in Tuscaloosa. And the practice, though, was interesting. I really do feel like there's this misconception that because Coach DeBoer is so much more calm in demeanor, that the entire program operates on a calmer level. Look, I was in there for 2 hours in practice today, and the players never stopped moving other than about a 3-minute section in the middle of the practice when they all went and hydrated, and then they come to the middle of the field together in unison for some messaging from the coaches, and then they redisperse out to their position groups for 5 more periods of practice. And it was very, very intense. They looked very good. They looked very crisp. Very intentional in movement and a little chippy at times, which you like to see before a game like this.
And Ryan, I realize Kirby Smart tries to keep the noise out, but the noise where we live and in the media is that Alabama is the looser team. Alabama probably ought to win this game, even though Vegas has a line at 2 points. How much do you sense from what's already happened this season? A convincing win over Clemson, but that Kentucky game really upset the apple cart, so to speak.
They're very happy to have just had an open date. One of the first things I said to Coach Smart was, I said, all right, so there are ill-timed open dates early in the season, and then there's the ones that you're glad you have. This feels like one to be glad about, and he did not disagree with that because the reality is they're dinged up after just a few games. That Kentucky game was brutal when it comes to physicality, and Carson Beck, quite frankly, needed a weekend to get his head right. There's an offensive reset that's going to have to happen if this team's going to accomplish what we all thought they could accomplish. Carson Beck was on all of our short Heisman lists, at the start of the season. If he's going to get on with that, it's time to get on with it. And so they were happy to have an open weekend. But to Marty's point, this building is still a building that feels like a Saban building 10 years ago. It's not that it's tense, it's intense. And I think there's a difference in that. And if, it feels like Alabama several years ago in that we would go to Tuscaloosa, Marty and I would, and you're getting ready for a big game. And every game is a big game for Alabama because it's the biggest game on the opponent's schedule. And that's how Georgia approaches their schedule, and rightfully so, because in my opinion, it's one of the most difficult constructed schedules in the country. And that's kind of the air in this building right now. It's all business all the time.
Ryan McGee in Athens and Marty in Tuscaloosa. Guys, thank you very much. We appreciate you stopping for a moment to join us, and we will see you very soon as we get ready for the weekend. Marty and McGee.